This is the table read. This is Kev Apollo, and I'm sat here with.
Down of the Dead.
And I'm sat here with.
Menace.
How you doing, guys? You alright?
I'm doing okay, man. What about you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah. You know, it's been a long day, but now we're going to have quite a long feature about one of your favourite films, Dan.
Yep.
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale.
I just want to say something before we start this. So, when was this film released?
2000.
2000.
17 years ago.
Wow.
Mm.
But thing is, why are we doing a feature on Battle Royale? I mean, like, it's been a film. There's so many things have been written about. Countless essays, countless features, countless documentaries, even like with the latest hour releases. What are we gonna say that hasn't been said already?
Well, first and foremost, we're fans.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about stuff that we love personally. And we'll give our own little insights into, what we feel about the film, really.
Mm.
Yeah, because this is the table read. We're here to talk about film. We're here to celebrate film. So if we say something that's been said before by someone else, okay, so what? We love this film, so let's get into it.
Let's kick it off.
Yeah. So Dan, tell me something about the film.
Okay, well, as you said, Battle Royale was released in 2000. It was based on a novel based on a novel of the same name. It was directed by Kinji Fukasaku, and his son actually did the screenplay.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. It stars Takeshi Kitano, and the film takes place in a dystopian Japan. It follows the story of a class of high school students, in particular a young boy by the name of Shuya Nanahara. Their class has been chosen by the government to take part in the annual Battle Royale program, armed with a map, various weapons, and each fitted with an exploding collar. All the students of the class must fight to the death until only one remains.
Mm. Can you remember the first time you saw a Battle Royale and the effect it had on each one of you guys, personally?
I think we start with Kev.
Yeah, because I think this is one of the issues with the film. Is the fact people don't get it, and I was in that camp for quite a long time. I think I saw it back in 2004, just round someone's house. And people just didn't get it. They were like, "Oh, boom, headshot! Oh, she's being electrocuted!" I was like, "Oh, this kid." And I was like, "This film sucks. This is a stupid film."
So why did you think it sucked watching it for the first time around?
Yeah, it just seemed I wasn't watching it properly. I mean, like in a room full of people who clearly didn't get the film, and so I wasn't watching it properly. Simple as that. And their lack of knowledge of it kind of feeds off in you in a way. And so for years, I always had that perception of the film. I didn't understand why it was so critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
Until when you said you wanted to do a feature on this, I watched it only a couple of months ago, and it was like, wow, where do you start on this film? This is not what I thought it was.
So you watching it for the second time round has completely changed your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think as I watched it properly from start to finish, I didn't really remember stuff, but as a film of itself, yeah, it's very entertaining, but you can't help but think what everything means whilst going through it, and afterwards how. Well, I think I'm gonna just go off on different tangents, just talking about this. It's just like you can't. It's awesome, like
Yeah.
It just
Well, yeah. Well, we'll get into that a bit later, but I want to talk about the first time I've come across it, and it was completely by accident. It was late night, probably about 1 a.m. And this was a few years later after it had first been released, and it was on Channel 4, on TV, and I came across it, as I said, by accident. It came on TV. I had no history about the film. I didn't know what it was about. It was on, so I watched it, and I think I instantly became a fan of it. But it wasn't until probably years later when I started researching and doing taking a closer look at the film that I became so in love with the movie itself, really.
In what way? In the way it's made, or just?
Yeah, well, I think I started to appreciate Japanese cinema. Not just watching, as a teenager, big blockbuster movies, and I wanted to check out something different. So Asian cinema was where I sort of went. That and obviously horror movies. But that said, there's so many elements to this film that I love. the score, the music choices, which of course we'll get into a bit later as well. But that was my first experience of the film.
Menace?
Well, much like yourself, Dan, I remember watching it, I guess it would have been about 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was a case of me catching it, I believe, much like yourself, again on Channel 4 at the time as a young teenager, not knowing what kind of film it was, and I remember it having an impact on me for many reasons, two of which being it was the first foreign film, I believe, I had seen, of its kind at least, and two, it was just so frightening.
Yeah, it is frightening.
It's
Yeah.
very
That's
frightening.
it's honestly one of the reasons why I didn't rewatch it, because the idea of it freaks me out. I haven't seen The Hunger Games.
Okay,
The idea of it
yeah.
freaks me out. It's fucked up. It's wrong.
Yeah.
And it is frightening. What would you do in it? Not just so much what would you do in this situation, it's why is this happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and will we
Yeah.
see a society one day where, will we have game shows one day where at least it starts off with like, oh, let's lose a finger, or let's lose a limb, and then let's lose your life if you
Well,
get
yeah,
the question
you know,
wrong.
Think back to stuff like The Running Man.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, and so I think this idea has been knocking around for some time, and I think we're getting to a stage where people want to see more extreme things on television. Reality TV has become so big that everybody will do anything, absolutely anything, to get on television and get their 15 minutes of fame. So it is frightening.
Yeah, I don't want to go off topic, but where is society going? Like, you look at things like Big
Yeah.
Brother. Like, even though Big Brother may not cause you any physical harm, look what that show does to you. Like, it's accused people of being like racists and stuff like that. Where like the whole even though there was selective things going on,
Yeah,
but the way the
yeah.
media goes off it as well, it's quite frightening.
Well, I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah.
Get me out of here. People eating ridiculous
Swimming with crocodiles.
body parts of
Yeah.
animals and stuff like that just for their 15 minutes. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, we're talking about a timeless film, of course, which, in a wake of Brexit and Trump becoming US president, in many ways is relative to today. And
Definitely.
dare I say, it's almost a metaphor for a not so distant future in society where kids, are silenced.
It is, because
Good point,
that's
good
what I was
point.
thinking of whilst watching the film. It reminded me of the most recent general election in a way. Because, like, the director, he always had, like, about my research, he's always had, like, a strong dislike towards adults. And I kind of got that, like, being told what to do. And we literally are told what to do.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're told that being, like an insult to say to, like, the left wing, for example, oh, you're a bunch of do-gooders. And, like, I mean, how is do-gooder a bad thing? You're doing good.
Yeah,
We're told you
yeah.
can't do these things. The media tells you you can't do these things. Everything is wrong. You're naive. You're stupid. You're gullible. You can't do these things. And this film, released 17 years ago, remind me of today's attitudes.
It's a plug for the Daily Mail right there.
Yeah. Great paper.
I mean, with this being a film that not only shocks, as we're saying, but grips and disturbs you as a viewer, it's a film that, to me, has always begged the question, why is it nowhere near as looked into for its elements of horror as much as it's being analysed for its science fiction?
Well, that's a good point. What category or genre would you put this film into? Because, you know, reading about it, everyone's saying that it's a Japanese action movie, where I think you're right. It does have elements of horror. It does have elements of science fiction, of course, because it's a dystopian movie. But so where would you slot it in the category of film genre?
Don't know. Just don't know. Because the action scenes are great. Especially, it was like the badass kid. Who's even the one with like the one Uzi.
Oh, yeah. That was...
Donald Trump's son.
Donald Trump's
Yeah.
son. Yeah, hunting elephants, that guy. But it's the bit where the three of them are like they're holed up in one little kind of like room, and they're trying to escape, and there's Uzis and like everything's smashed around. It's all done
Yeah.
proper live action. It's a fantastic scene, absolutely fantastic action scene. The idea of it is scary. You're still being hunted, like the Terminator, for example, is not really a scary film, but the idea of being hunted by something is scary. So that's categorized as a horror in some ways. You've got that in there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's political commentary as well.
It's very much a genre cocktail.
Yeah.
So I just want to get on to the director himself, Kinji Fukusaku.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. So if people are not familiar with his work, obviously he's a director and screenwriter. He died in 2003, so 3 years after making the movie, and he was halfway into shooting the sequel, Battle Royale, when he died, and then his son took over, which we all know is not a great film. But he's known for directing the Japanese portion of the Hollywood film Tora 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 in 1970, and he was most known for his Japanese Yakuza films, including
That's right.
Battles Without Honor Humanity, which Arrow Video released a box set of.
That's right, and it's often likened to the Asian Godfather.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, very
Yeah.
much so. He did stuff like his samurai pieces, such as Shogun Samurai in 1978, I believe. But obviously, you'll be most remembered now for the controversial Battle Royale. And I think sometimes we forget how controversial it was when it first came out. I mean, it was banned in America until it finally was released in 2012, which is only 5 years ago.
I can understand why it's kind of banned at the time, in a way, because it was just after Columbine when this was released.
That's right.
But just as Americans, sorry to all Americans, but I'm on about the right wing American side who want to like silence things. Is that side of the US? I'm surprised it was banned for so long in that place.
I'm surprised why it was released then again, so long afterwards. Apparently, I was reading into it. It was released by Anchor Bay, and a representative of Anchor Bay Video said that it was released to be focused around the anticipation of the Hunger Games movies when they come out.
Yeah, but that's the crazy thing, isn't it? Like, how was the Hunger Games ever greenlit? You know, when you have a film like this.
I mean, do you believe that filmmakers, especially, tend to downplay its influence and impact? I mean, that's what we're asking, isn't it? Do you think it's downplayed in the mainstream? For example, Susan Collins, director of Hunger Games, claims she knew nothing about Battle Royale when writing Hunger Games, saying she got the idea channel surfing back and forth between the war in Iraq and reality TV.
Do you believe that?
Well, I believe her, but not just one person makes a film. You know?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people involved in that, and someone obviously knew. I knew this before I even seen Battle Royale properly. You know.
Yeah.
I think that taking one of the themes in Battle Royale, which is its generation gap, it's almost ironic how fitting the generation gap exists between the audience today. You ask somebody if they've seen Battle Royale who have seen Hunger Games, and 9 times out of 10 they haven't seen Battle Royale. And with the same token, I can speak on being a part of that disconnect by saying I haven't seen Hunger Games. Have you guys seen Hunger Games, and how do you feel about it, like you say, taking its core synopsis from Battle Royale?
That's a good point, actually, because Hunger Games it's become mainstream. You know, it's they're blockbuster movies, so they get a lot of media attention. Does Battle Royale get the same service? No, it doesn't. But it still has the key elements that Battle Royale has.
I think that's a good thing, though,
Yeah.
in one way, because not to sound like an elitist or anything, just you find what is popular in the mainstream a lot of times just isn't good.
No, it's not.
And
no.
do you want? This is going to sound really bad, really snobby, but do you want the common person to like Battle Royale?
Well, no, actually, when I speak to people and they haven't seen Battle Royale, I think it's kind of a good thing. I feel like, that's for me. That's my sort of film. I don't watch everything that comes out in the cinemas because it's just not for me.
I think society would be a better place in a way if everyone has seen it and everyone got it. But
yeah,
they're not going to happen.
if they get it. Yeah.
But for example, you went to go and see the film in Prince Charles.
I did, and
Cinema?
that's recently. So only within the last 2 months, myself and a friend, we travelled up to London. They were showing a screening of Battle Royale. And we took the trip because I wanted to see it on the big screen for the first time. And it didn't disappoint. I mean, this is a film that I've seen countless times, and being able to see it on the big screen, it did make a difference. And to see it with an audience as well. But what I found is a lot of the audience, as you were saying, they just didn't get the film.
That's what I was going to say. Like, we're based in South Wales ourselves, so for you, it's a 3.5 hour journey to get there for a late night showing to watch a film. Other people are making that trip as well.
Yeah.
Even if not like really long distance, it's a late night showing to watch a film in the cinema. And if they don't get it, what hope do we have?
Exactly. And without trying to plug Arrow Video again, they were the guys that put on the screening for Battle Royale.
Yeah.
And a representative of Arrow got up onto the stage and asked the audience how many people hadn't seen the movie. Now, I think 50% to maybe 60%. So the large majority really had put their hands up and they hadn't seen the movie. Now what we found was people were laughing out of turn, some really poignant moments, some really sad moments, and they found humour in it. Whether that was because they just didn't get it, as you said, or did watching an Asian film to a English speaking audience, did it not come across to them? I don't know.
Maybe, but you just like to think the people who will go to a cinema like that to watch a film like this would have some kind of like
Understanding.
Knowledge.
understanding.
Yeah.
If if I've seen the film, surely we think, oh, they get it.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
So I was a little put out by that actually, because
Strange.
this is a film that I hold quite dear to my heart, and to realise there's so many people in that room who had paid good money to get in to see it on a big screen, just didn't get it.
It's also one of the few films you hear people confidently say that the film is better than a novel and translated better than most film adaptations. What about the book yourself, though, fellas? Have you, like me, not read the book, or did you read the book before seeing the film?
I've never read the book. I've read some of the manga that came afterwards, which is pretty good. But for me, the movie speaks volumes.
What does, as we said earlier, like there's so much action in it, as like good action. Again, it's a horror. You know, it's kind of maybe I haven't read the book. I don't want to like judge the book, but maybe it's one of those stories that as a medium should be on film.
Yeah, and while we're talking about being on film, what about the cast itself? Because I know that this was a grueling process for the director.
Something like 6,000 people were cast.
Oh, yeah.
When has that ever been done?
Well, I think 6,000 people like auditioned and like 400 were cast.
Or even that?
Yeah, it was such a grueling process. If you watch some of the documentaries on it, how they had some of the cast members do laps and run into find out if they had the stamina to run around whilst filming, if they could keep up the pace. So a lot of it wasn't based on their acting; it was based on if they could keep up physically.
The thing is, we don't know this whilst watching the film, but
No.
it probably does work in a way, because, like, in a lot of films where actors have to play firemen or in the army, they go on boot camps in real situations. You look at films back in like early 90s, or I actually remember an early X-Files episode where there's the army are in it and the police are in it,
Right.
and the way these actors are acting is horrendous. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, but because as an audience, we're so used to these actors now going on these boot camps and they actually hold weapons properly. They salute properly.
Yeah, they look the part. They nail it.
They know what to do. They have proper military and police training or whatever the role entails. So imagine these characters in this film. They look generally frightened. You know, they did the stunts themselves, if I'm correct.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And you know, they probably must go through some rigorous training for this, and it looks all real. That's why the action is so good, and that's why the whole theme of it is frightening and it's realistic.
Am I mistaken in believing that the process for the casting took up to 6 months?
I know it took a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I might be wrong, I might be right, but going back to what Kevin said very briefly, talking about police training, it's a shame we don't have that today, proper police training.
For us.
But, yeah, well, no.
Look at me. Look at me.
No. Edit that. Carry on.
No, staying in.
No, it can't.
So anyway,
It can't.
right, while we are on cast, and what do you think about the relationships? Believable high school classmates, or
that's the thing, is it? It all goes down to the question: what would you do?
yeah,
Because it does seem like a real friendship to start with, a proper class. It doesn't look like anything else you've ever seen in these kind of like scenarios. But if you put into a situation, what would you do? Like, is it like is that a forced metaphors in a way? Like when the girl poisons one of her friends accidentally, and then it literally is the shot of the girl with like a knife in the back. You know, it's a forced metaphor, but you know, what would you do in this situation?
So, actually, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the poison scene when they're in that lighthouse, because who do you trust?
Yeah, like, you know, we're close friends. We know, like, I've known you since I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
I've known you since I was 11 years old. And I'm not going to kill you.
Thanks.
Oh, thanks.
To start with, I know you kicked my ass to start with. But, not you, Dink. Right, but But still, at the same time, what would you do when you're in a extreme situation like this? What would you do? I like to think I would just kill myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, which a lot of them do in the movie.
Yeah.
They can't do it, so they take that road.
And did they win? Did they
Well,
morally win?
I think morally maybe
Hmm.
they didn't win the game.
They didn't win the
They
game.
didn't win the game. So I'm going to talk about Takeshi Kitano, who plays the teacher Takeshi in the movie. For those who don't know, Takeshi Kitano was primarily known as a comedian in Japan, actually, by his stage name Beat Takeshi. He's actually the guy behind Takeshi's Castle, and if you know Takeshi's Castle,
Whoa.
you know how funny that is.
Actually, I think our listeners should stop listening to us right now and just go on YouTube and type in
Watch
Takeshi's Castle.
Castle. It's great. But then his directorial debut came along, so he's a director as well.
Yeah.
He directed Violent Cop in 1989, and he's most known for his Yakuza stuff. To date, he's directed 18 movies, mostly Yakuza stuff, including Sonatine and Hanabi. And he's also scheduled this October, actually, to do his final installment of his Outrage trilogy, which I'm quite looking forward to.
Nice.
But if I can just give a personal shout out, really, to a film called Zatoichi, which is actually my favourite movie of his. It's a samurai movie. He's a blind swordsman who comes to the aid of local townsfolk caught in the middle of a Yakuza gang war. So if you can, pick that up, because that's a great watch.
Should we do a feature on that?
That'd be great.
Yeah, let's do that. I was thinking, doing some research on this film. This film's been compared a lot to the absolute horror and reaction to A Clockwork Orange when it came out. And I find that strange. I'm maybe because so much time has passed, but I'm still surprised at how much notoriety this film has. I don't get how shocking it is in a way for like audiences not to see. We've had much worse things out there,
Yeah.
much more gratuitous violence. I mean, yeah, okay, maybe in the US with the whole Columbine incident. Yeah, but why do you think this film is still deemed shocking?
I personally feel that it's a taboo to see kids, as young as the kids we're seeing in the film, get murdered in the ways they do.
Is that it? Because it's violent, but it's not that violent.
I don't believe it's as violent as people are making it out to be, and the way in which the media has demonized it to be, in the way in which the Japan government has.
Yeah. I see what you mean, really. It's the whole subject matter of having children die on screen, I guess.
But Luke
Yeah.
Menace does make an absolute good point in a way. It's what society is deeming you should watch. But it's the amazing thing about the film. That is a theme of the film. We're being told what to like and not to like. Like, I don't want to like bring up the Daily Mail again, but when the first Grand Theft Auto game was released, they put a campaign out to stop this game of gratuitous violence. They didn't get it. When Dungeons and Dragons was massive in the 80s, they put a campaign out to stop that because they thought people would go off and go and kill themselves over Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So now we're being told again, don't watch this film.
It's exactly the same thing as us having a video nasties controversy in UK, in a way that the Japan government and the media demonized this film so much that it became a curse of Battle Royale. As you guys know, with the video nasty controversy, there were people who actually believed that certain films could be harmful to kids. And I believe that this is one of those films that people felt could be harmful to kids. I mean, let's not forget, like we were saying earlier, it didn't get a theatrical release because of the Columbine situation in the States.
It did here though, didn't it?
I think it did.
It did here, but not in the States. Yeah.
I don't know. Is it?
It's a difficult one, really, isn't it?
I think when Columbine did happen, you do have that factor over you can't escape that.
But look how much stuff was blamed on Columbine.
Yeah, and look how much stuff is still happening now.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson was blamed for Columbine. That was
Yeah.
ridiculous as well.
Exactly.
But again, like the media does like to blame things. We're blaming this. We blame natural born killers for stuff. We blamed child play for things.
It's all about pointing fingers to the media. It's all about pointing the fingers because it's convenient. It's easy to do that with films. It's easy to do that to directors.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the easy target.
I think that's a lazy target.
It's a lazy target, absolutely. It's a comfortable target.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to point the finger, isn't it?
I heard a good commentary one time from the writers of Speed one time, and they actually did ask each other, do we have a responsibility as writers? Do we have a responsibility to make sure our audience do not react on things? And one of them said, no. Everyone knows the difference between right and wrong, and sometimes it can have a positive influence, because in Speed, obviously about an out-of-control bus, there was like a 9-year-old kid on a bus back in the 90s. Driver had a heart attack. Some little 9-year-old kid took over the bus and stopped it and goes, why did he do that? He goes, because of that bus movie.
Well, that's it. I think it boils down to the intelligence of the audience as well.
Yeah. And we can't control who watches things, and anyone can be influenced over anything.
That's right. So, I want to quickly move on to the music in the film. It is, well, it's epic. And if they've taken some truly classics, as in classical music, Requiem by Verdi, which is the first thing you hear as the film starts.
Yeah.
What do you think the impact of the music had on
It's
this?
horrible. In a good way, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's like, not so much that one. I'm not quite sure what the piece is, but in the first morning, I think it's the prologue, maybe.
Okay, so Air on a G,
Yeah.
Air on a G string by Johann Sebastian Bach.
Just
Yeah.
the calmness of it. It was like, how dare you?
Yeah.
What have you just done? How dare you have this piece of music
All
playing?
this soft music, and with all this violence.
Yeah, it just goes to show how adults just don't care. They will
Yeah.
just listen to whatever they want.
It's the
Everything's fine.
counterbalance.
Yeah. I thought, in a way, it just felt perverted.
Yeah, but in a good way. It
Yeah,
works.
This is good
it
filmmaking.
really works.
This was good filmmaking. But I think it could be a thing that a lot of Japanese and Asian film directors in general tend to do. Because John Woo use it quite a lot in his action scenes. He'll have like moments of calm music.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just maybe wasn't as intended to be as twisted in a way to use this music, or do you reckon it was maybe possibly like a Japanese like trademark?
I don't know. I think.
We speak with absolute white ignorance here.
It could have been fully intentional.
Yeah.
It could have been. It could have been completely what he meant. To set out to do. But this film is so influential to other filmmakers and directors as well, as we all know that I think Tarantino lists this as his favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
And he also he honors that by casting the girl who played Chigusa as Go-Go in Kill Bill.
Of course.
And she was the the girl in the schoolgirl's outfit with that sort of razor ball on a chain.
Yeah.
If you remember rightly.
Yeah.
But Kill Bill itself, is a sort of like a mixture of a lot of Japanese movie influences. Bruce Lee movies. You've got that iconic jumpsuit. Lady Snowblood, of course, where the bride sort of comes from, really. So I think his love of this movie and Japanese cinema in general has definitely influenced it.
And speaking of influences, we mentioned just earlier Hunger Games, but it doesn't just end it, does it? I mean, we can go back to The Running Man, as you said. We can take Blade Runner. More recently, we can take 31, which, of course, is by Rob Zombie. We can take...
Yeah, the whole thing of we got a group of good people together, kill each other.
Absolutely.
Not just that. We have Big Brother. I know we mentioned it earlier, but Big Brother originally started. Let's put 10 people in a room and see what happens.
Yeah.
That was the premise of the show. I think it started in Holland.
absolutely.
That was the premise of the show. See what happens.
Absolutely.
If they start murdering each other, then they do. But
So 17 years later, do you think that this movie has stood the test of time?
Absolutely.
wow, I was going to say, visually, 17 years, this film, visually, it looks outstanding to this day. It's just so much better than a lot of other film. It probably was shot on film to
Yeah,
start
it
with.
was. Yeah.
Where I do have a bit of a bias towards film because I think it looks so much better
does,
than
yeah.
digital. That's my personal opinion. But still, just the whole practical effects of it, it's real explosions on set. The actors are really there. The real stunts. The cinematography in this film is absolutely fantastic.
It is.
Let's do a Japanese feature.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan, man. And
This actually goes out to our listeners. What Japanese films should we watch? What do you recommend?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
Let's do that. Anyway, to close off, Battle Royale. Dan, you love Japan. You've been to Japan.
I have.
And it's changed your life, I believe.
It has indeed.
And not only that, it's changed your taste for alcohol.
It has. I have a cold bottle of sake in front of me, and we're just about to wrap up today's feature
First time I tried this. But Luke's not having any because he's driving,
Yeah.
because he sucks.
But yeah, we just want to have a glass of sake each, just to round up the day.
Sake.
It looks good. Sounds good.
Oh,
What do you think?
I like this.
Okay, nice.
I like this more than the table read.
Well, on that note, we've been the Table Read. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you come and listen to our further features. So, cheers, guys.